Well, ladies and gentlemen, I prepared a boring lecture, which I'm not going to read it to you, to avoid, after you have listened to very important speeches. But I would like to begin by asking the question, is there a problem in the Muslim world? The English sociologist Huxley says, definition of a problem is half the way to solve it. Do we recognize in the Islamic world that there is a problem? Do we define this problem in order to try to solve it? What is the problem actually in the Islamic world? Is it Islam? What do we teach? Because speaking about preventive diplomacy starts with education regarding to religion. Now, what religious education we follow? Is it there, the problem starts there in education? I will try to move around this very delicate subject. I know there are so many time bombs in my way, but I hope it will not explode. Let me say it so bluntly. In most of the Islamic world, we do not teach Islam as it is in the Quran. We do teach Islam as it has been interpreted by some, and I underline, some scholars, and scholars of the Middle Ages and before. In the 21st century, the problem now is that we are following the interpretation of these scholars who passed away centuries ago, and life has been completely changed. Let me draw your attention to a very delicate problem here. We have the religious text, and we have the interpretation of the text. The religious text, whether it is the Quran or the Bible or the Torah, the religious text is first sacred, and it is second permanent, and it is absolute meaning. But the interpretation of the text is human, and anything human is open to be right or wrong. So the interpretation of the text is human, is changeable, and is relative. It's not more absolute. It's not more sacred. Now, the problem, as I define it, is that we, in the 21st century, we are following the interpretation of the Middle Ages and before, considering it sacred, permanent, and unchangeable, as the text itself. Here starts the problem. Now, our scholars at that time interpreted the text according to their knowledge and to their circumstances at the time. Circumstances were very essential. See, the Mughals and later after the Mughals invasion, there were the Crusades. So the scholars wanted to implement to interpret the Islamic text according to the situation they were facing at that time, to promote unity and of unity of Muslims against the invaders. Now, this interpretation has been, up to the 21st century, is considered to be sacred, and the people are following it. That's the real problem we have to face. Now, what the Quran says differs from what is happening now. What's happening according to the interpretation of these interpretations. What the Quran says about Christianity. When we speak about Christianity in Islam, there are four main features or points that we underline. First, Jesus Christ, the Bible, Mary, and the church. What Islam says about these four. According to Jesus Christ, yes, we believe that Jesus Christ was a prophet. Christians believe that Jesus Christ was God. This is a major difference. Differences are there. But what the Quran says about Jesus Christ, the Quran says, and I quote, that Jesus Christ is a word from God and a spirit from God. This description of Jesus Christ is unique for regarding any other prophet. The only prophet described in the Quran as the word of God and the spirit from God is Jesus. No other prophet has this description. This uniqueness makes Islam believe in Christianity as a message from God. One point. The second point about the Bible. The Quran says about the Bible, there is light and guidance in the Bible. There is light and guidance in the Bible. The Quran goes further to say, let the people of the Bible follow what God revealed in the Bible. What God revealed, that means, according to us Muslims, the Bible is a revelation from God. And the Quran addresses us Muslims to let the Christians follow what God revealed to them in the Bible, not in the Quran. That's not to implement, to force them to follow what is in the Quran, but to follow what God revealed in the Bible. What is happening in the Middle East or some other places, Afghanistan or Pakistan or I don't know where, this is contrary to the text. Now about Mary. Mary is considered in the Quran as the most favorable chosen lady from God over all women until the end of times. Now, this description too is unique for Mary. And Muslims consider Mary as blessed from God and the chosen without any exception over all women from the beginning until the end of time. This uniqueness also of Mary is very important to underline. And by the way, we in Lebanon, for many years, the Christians of Lebanon used to celebrate the day of Annunciation of Mary, when she received the angel and to tell her that you carry the word of God. It was a Christian holiday. Since 7 or 6 years now, it became a Christian Muslim national holiday. So These are the teachings of the Quran regarding these principles. The fourth is about the church. Now, when we say the church, what do we mean by church? The clergy and the building of the church. As for the clergy, the Quran speaks so highly in name about the Christian clergy, and speaks highly about Christianity and Christians because, as the Quran says, there are clergy لأن بينهم قسيسين ورهبانا, clergy and monks among them. Also, this description is so give us the reason to respect the clergy people of the church. Now, for the church itself as a building, I think you might be aware of the reception of the Prophet Mohammad, peace be on him, when he received the delegation, Christian delegation from the Christian tribe of Yemen, Najran. When he received this delegation in his holy place in Medina, and they discussed all the day. They were his guests for one day, and they lunched together and spent the whole day together. And even when the time of their prayer, the Prophet asked them to do their prayer in his place. They said, no, we prefer to do it in the courtyard outside, and that's what they did. And they left at the end of the day. They went home. They remained Christians, and the Prophet continued his message. But they decided to remain Christians. So it's okay, because Islam believes in Christianity as a message from God. But the Prophet made an agreement, or what we call uhda, a sort of entente avec the Christians, saying one of the items of this, it says that it's forbidden for Muslims to use even one stone from a church in the building of a mosque or a house for Muslims. This is the ultimate respect of a church by the Prophet himself. That's why when the Prophet in Medina drafted or dictated to his followers the constitution of the nucleus state of Medina, one article in that constitution says that Muslims and believers, Muslims, we know Muslims who followed and believed in Muhammad as a prophet from God, and believers, the Christians and Jews living at that time in the Medina, and where the Prophet was saying, Muslims and believers, Christians and Jews, are one nation. One nation. That's from the Prophet himself, to recognize the plurality of religions. Now, plurality of religion is at stake in the Middle East. Why? Because we do not teach these principles of Islam. That's why I think relation between Christianity and Islam is not based on tolerance, and it should not be based on tolerance. It should be based on belief. You see, as Nietzsche says, To tolerate somebody is an insult to the other. Tolerance is an insult to the other. It's you have the authority, you are one, you are big, you are above, and you tolerate the other. This is not the relation between religions. This is not the relation between Islam and Christianity and Judaism in the first place. The relation is based on belief. But if a Muslim does not believe in Christianity or in Judaism, he cannot be a Muslim. Islam includes, believing Islam includes believing on all these religions. That's, I'm sorry, the time is short with me, but I would like to emphasize that in the Middle East we have double problem, two phases. There is too much religion and too little spirituality in the Middle East. And the religion we teach, or mostly, I don't want to make it, generalize it so much, but most of the religion we teach is far away from these principles I mentioned to you. How to prevent conflict of religion? We have to go back to these principles. Now, it is conflict when it comes to religion. It is not local. There are no more local conflicts when it comes to religion. Let me give you these significant numbers to explain what I mean. There are 1,600,000,000 Muslims in the world. 1/3 of them, that's about 600 million, 1/3 of them live among non-Muslim societies and non-Muslim countries. This is one. Second, Christianity until the mid or beginning of 19th century, 80% of Christians were in Europe and the Americans. Now 2/3 of the Christians are in the underdeveloped countries, Asia, Africa. 1/3 of the Christians are now in Africa alone. So Christianity is moving south, where other religions are. So there is an intermingling between Christianity and Islam in Asia and in Africa, and in Europe and America and other places. So any religious conflict, whether it is committed by terrorists like Boko Haram in Africa, or by ISIS in these criminals in the Middle East or any other place, it is not local anymore. It is international problem. And we have to face it all together in order to rebuild our societies in friendship, love, and respect. Thank you.